Hello, my name is Anthony Gibbs. Amidst the clamor you hear, I have come to do a special episode concerning slavery and its notions. Within these, I am using these all-important two sources primarily for this talk: The Comparative Histories of Slavery in Brazil, Cuba, United States by Lear Brigard, and James Henry Hammond in the Old South, The Design for Mastery. This is written by Drew Gilpin Faust. What this primarily concerns is the notion of slavery and basically how these things have been carried on through us through the years and such. And I also wanted to talk on this because I guess it's in my own way. I'm talking about it myself in this. Is the notion of making space. And I kind of felt like I had to make space, but not quite against like the slaves did with the masters, but kind of make space in the sense of being black and how slavery is thought about and conceived. You know, upon my review of slavery, I'm coming to a newer conclusion on it, and there's two things on it. Number one, it's not nearly as monolithic as I thought it once was. And number two, some of the uncomfortable truths expounded by black activists about slavery, you know, and the notion of blacks sent amongst the community to destroy agents, those types. That has a deep notion. And recent readings have kind of shown me how deep these roots are. First, I want to begin with the notion of making space and why I'm touching on that. Making space simply is the notion of how enslaved people, bondsmen, as it was mystically called, other not so nice things that slaves were called, is essentially the notion of kind of like defining yourself and defining where you stand and things like that. You know, it's the notion of finding your place, finding your voice, and finding your balance within the system. Now, some might kind of laugh at this and be like, "Well, what balance can one find if you're enslaved?" Well, it's a big one. You know, I think in this day and age, often we want to separate ourselves, you know, from each other, just in general, but especially from the past and from the uncomfortable parts of our past and whatnot. But I invite, especially people who view this and are black, to let go of that for a moment and truly consider what it would mean to live in that world every day, and you know no better, and what you have to do every day, you know, to make it, and how it is to live under one's dominion. You know, not everybody is Harriet Tubman. Not everybody has the strength and ingenuity, will, and the want to escape. I mean, one thing we kind of miss in the escaping is that you're running from your family, if you have any family. You know, and as a younger man, I might have been like, well, yeah, but you know, now I'm a man as children. I'm like, well, you know, running away from your family would kind of suck. You know, running away from your children, running away from everybody who loves you, because people didn't love you. People didn't share in your experience, unless you were like an odious person. But that's just as true now. So you had to live there. And making space was like the way slaves made little rebellions and things like that. A few different quotes. I kind of find this.
Yeah, you'll never see me dance like that. My type of dancing, you'd think, okay, how the hell does he do that?
I'm turning pages here. Okay. I'm trying to find the page here. Here, I'll just turn to this quote here. As a slave owner, this is referring to James Henry Hammond. As many other dimensions of life, Hammond desired to be both omnipotent and beloved, and so he cherished his illusion about the ideal masterhood that he usually was able to forget that he was neither kind, paternalist, nor an all-effective manager. One of his greatest consolations, he explained to a close friend, was to know that my Negroes love and appreciate me. Hammond would never learn that dominion is incompatible with the mutuality that serves as the foundation of genuine love. With the exigencies of the Civil War and the imminence of emancipation, he would be forced to recognize that what he had regarded as devotion from his slaves had been largely a form of relation. The image of the benevolent master proved ultimately as empty of meaning for him as it had been for long lost for many of the slaves. Hammond had designed and promulgated an ideology through which to control the slaves, but ironically, he, as much as they, became his prisoner. So, as you could see, the slaves you never can take full control of this. I mean, he would beat the crap out of them. Take away food privileges. Those kind of things. But yet, slaves still had to define their own character and had to define their own way.
I'm still not really done.
So essentially, here's a couple more things here. I'll flip back here. Flip back here. Here we go. I'm trying to find a special one here for you guys. I want to make sure that I get it in the right place. Made it. Here we go. So essentially here, why I turn to this page and why it's so important is that when slaves made space, you know, they oftentimes had things like the black church on the plantation, but the master really hated the black church, you know, and destroyed it because he didn't want anybody really preaching to his people besides white people. You know, slaves could do a little bit of worship and devotion and things like that. Another way that space was made was that slaves sometimes ran away. And sometimes running away was just a notion, because they were pretty far remote. But they would run around and hide for a while, and it was a way to negotiate sometimes. You know, you can't beat and chase everybody, and Hammond pretty much discovered this, essentially. You know, Hammond pretty much discovered that, like, you can't control people with the lash exclusively, or through domination exclusively. You know, like it says here in this book, James Henry Hammond in the Old South. But Hammond's use of psychological manipulation had become more complex than a simple system of carrot and stick. In the plantation manual of the mid-40s, 1840s, it was clear that Hammond supplemented his use of rewards with rituals and symbols designed to persuade the slaves to accept their master's definition of their own inferiority and dependence, and simultaneously to acknowledge the merciful benevolence of his absolute rule. So, a couple things are going on here. The master wanted the slaves to be absolutely dependent upon him in everything, because any signs of independence and essentially, as you could imagine, is a little step towards revolution. And being an educated man, he recognized this, and so he was very, very, very careful to keep that level of control there, but not push too hard, because he wanted to be loved and feared. He wanted to be a patriarch. And it's very important that you see the slave owner's lenses in that respect. He was patriarch.
Okay, she's done.
It was his
Okay, you're good.
duty to take care of these
Okay, have fun. We'll see you
blacks.
tomorrow at 3. Okay, bye.
They had to bring something up to him. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Ask him if I can put his TV in Mel and Ted's room,
now,
put my 40-inch 4K in that his room.
now here is the part of it here that's very important. There was a person called the driver
Well, I don't.
in this in Hammond's plantation,
I don't even feel like
and the driver essentially
Weird for us to
was
go.
the highest ranking black person on the plantation,
yeah, I
as it
know, I
said.
don't even want to go there right now.
As it said.
So that's a good point.
He was the one black person that can directly oversee
Yeah,
the master,
wait
as it
till I can
says.
handle going there,
As it
'cause I don't wanna
says.
get in a fist fight with my stepdad,
He's expected to
especially
communicate
going
freely on whatever attracts his attention. He's a confidential agent and may be a guard against any excesses or omissions on the part of the overseer. This guy can also go see the master, talk to the master whenever he wanted to, whenever, about anything. And only the master could whip him, not even the overseer.
Remember what I said before?
And this guy was the guy at Hammond, more or less like placed within the plantation community
Like that
to make
bag that you
certain
filled up
that
last time last
appear
week.
that blacks had at least some kind of voice. There was somebody listening to them. An overseer just couldn't go crazy on them whenever he
Yes,
felt
it'll
like
make
it.
happen.
This is very important to remember in all of this because, in many respects,
Yeah.
that's the allegation of the black agent, of the person who is designated by master to kind of keep control of the plantation, yet help the blacks see that they need master. You know, in some respects, I find this to be the most uncomfortable notion of this so far because simply
Okay. All right.
I can put that lens on and I can kind of see that too, you know, it's like they prop up certain people, you know. It's the argument with like rap music and some things like that, you know. It's like, why is it that these guys who are apparently bad actors get all this attention and get all this money, make all these videos? Why is booty and bass, you know, number one? Why are these guys propped up? Why are other guys not? And for a long time, I dismissed some of that stuff, you know, like, well, that's just another disaffected person talking, but I think there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that, to kind of, to see who gets the attention and who doesn't, who gets help and who doesn't, when you look at it from those perspectives. So anyway, I'm going to let it go from here, and I'll continue with another video here on slavery and those things.
Get in the car and I didn't
Goodbye.
what happened to it.